Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Power to Build Show, where we explore the trends, technologies, and people shaping the future of home building. As always, my name is Marco, and I'm happy to be joined by my co host, Bryan.
How's it going, everyone?
Today, we're joined by a tech founder and strategic innovator who's helping builders rethink how they manage documents from the ground up. Matt Chretien is the Chief Strategy Officer and Chief Technology Officer at Intellinetics. He leads product innovation and long-term vision for intelligent document solutions tailored to regulated industries like construction and healthcare.
Yeah, super excited to, talk to Matt. He's, a co-founder with over 2 decades of experience in enterprise content management, a physics graduate turned tech leader, and someone who's helping reposition Intellinetics for the next wave of digital transformation. So whether it's simplifying workflows or scaling, smarter systems or aligning tech with real-world builder needs, Matt brings clarity to what's evolving, what's working, and what's next.
The show. Thank
Nice to be here, Marco. Nice to be here, Bryan.
Of course, Matt, let's start at the very beginning, right? I think it would be beneficial for our audience to know a little bit about your career journey. You've gone from physics to now founding a tech company that's now helping so many builders in regulated industries rethink how they manage documents. That's your world. I know I get the pleasure of working with you, and I talk to builders daily and hear the benefits that they get out of Intellinetics. What first drew you into this space, and what's kept you energized all these years?
Well, Intellinetics is based out of Central Ohio, so we're kind of from the Midwest, and kind of the culture is really very pragmatic, applied, and and I think it's been a great context to really establish Intellinetics. My dad, myself, another gentleman, we started, if you can believe this, in the late '90s. It was an evolution, and it started from a perspective of providing consulting services into law enforcement, specifically. I have a background, as you mentioned, in engineering, and had been out in the workforce for a bit. Went back to school for at grad school, and really, it 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 dawned on me that I really wanted to be more applied and in the business world, and
Hmm.
that's what led to my dad, who had had a career change. He was able to retire early, had a career in law enforcement. He had gone to law school at night, so he's an attorney. We combined our talents with another gentleman, and the thought was to go out to the market and understand where their challenges lied. And really, this was in the context of law enforcement agencies where my dad knew them and we could have conversations. And there was a common theme. And actually, that theme still drives the company today. And it was at the
Hmm.
time, hey, our records are a mess. They're subject to a lot of public records laws. There's high in volume, a ton of law and policy. You add all of that up, and it really creates a lot of challenges. So, really, from the onset, we were about how can we deliver better capabilities around how documents drive their organization or hold it back? And really that continues to kind of connect everything we do. And in that journey, so we built software applications around managing documents, connecting them to the processes they drive, do that in
Hmm.
a way that's simple and intuitive for users that are really mission focused, but not necessarily interested in the technology side. They're interested in the outcomes, right? Their mission.
Right.
And so those things really still connect what we do now.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I've never heard kind of the high level on Intellinetics, so glad it came from you, the source. But from physics to founding, you mentioned you had the interest in technology, but what actually led you to
So
co-found
what's
Intellinetics?
what's interesting is when you come from an engineering background, you can think of it as really that's about solving problems, right? Just to boil it down. I've always had a curiosity to make things better. I think we all do in different ways, right? And so what you learn from that background is how to model a problem and an outcome, right? So think boxes and arrows. So in the end, really, and I know Constellation talks a lot about this, and all digital process,
Hmm.
is really it amounts to being able to optimize that process and solve problems. And so when you come at the world from the perspective of, let's put this into a view where we can design an outcome we're after. And so, that's ironically, that is really the essence even of the solutions that together with Constellation, we've built. So it's a way to really give our mutual customers a way to not only address their issues, but at the core, right, think and work in new ways.
Yeah.
In fact, people ask me, where did Intellinetics come from, that name? It's rooted in really two things. Okay. Intelligence, the word intelligence, really, which is really about knowledge, right? Kinetics, motion. Ideas are
Mm.
great, but they're really meaningless if they're not executed. Kinetics, intelligence, knowledge. So Intellinetics really embodies that concept of, bringing knowledge into solutions that are real for real customers. And that knowledge in motion mantra really is still behind what we do and how we think and how we build solutions. And so in today's world, it's incredible with, the AI revolution. I mean, that could be every podcast from here
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future. But I'll articulate it this way. AI has created innovation cycles in some cases that are measured in minutes, right? So it, what that implies is the ability to innovate and the ability to create new ways to think and work is infinite for all of
Hmm.
us. So a lot of the things at Intellinetics and even directing some of the collaborations with Constellation is about an AI forward strategy that shows up in code assist, right? How we all create new IP. It shows up in sales and marketing automation, which is in and of itself, kind of amazing what that really can do and what it means. It shows up in the way that we, kind of mine our customer data, right? For insights that again goes right back to them. It's a way to measure user behaviors in a way we never could before and build responsive software that really understands how they work and yet provides, the guide rails to make sure they don't, do something that is at odds with what their role is, right? With the industry
Hmm.
they're in, with the particular context, AP automation. So it's just very fascinating. And our continuing focus on AP automation really is a reflection of just the sheer opportunities to really turn processes into profit centers. I mean, and AP automation, I would argue, is one of the most well-researched business process. And the reason for that is well, it's pervasive. It's kind of agnostic to any industry, for profit, public sector, et cetera. And also it concentrates a lot of costs and risks. So you put all of that together, right? That's why it's so well vetted. It's why it's such a very, it's a very, very mature market. A lot of, again, good providers in that space. The difference in the approach Intellinetics and Constellation has taken really lies in as much not the technology side as it is the business culture side, right? We were talking about the awards, earlier. That reflects a genuine focus on the customers, right? That Constellation has, and those feedback loops and that partnership. So in the end, AP automation is really going through a bit of a renaissance because of AI. Okay, number
Hmm.
one. And number two, our partnership reflects one of the most important differentiators, which is the collaborative integration. So when you have AI plus collaborative integration, we can create outcomes that's not possible by third parties. Not that they're, not capable to do those things, but notice what I'm talking about is it's the culture fit, it's the focus on customers, it's the understanding. Home builders, if there's one thing we've learned in our journey, it's that they all, yes, they're in the same industry, but they have very unique ways to lead their markets, right?
Yeah,
So they're
for sure.
localized. You guys, see that as well, I bet, right?
We do. It's actually it's funny when someone talks about their ERP or a new star. they're all using it in different instances, whether they're
Yeah.
using the proofs. It's crazy to see how it differs from California to Florida to Ontario.
It's
I
sorry, Matt, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Bryan.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't think our audience is gonna be able to identify that you're the founder because you have a real passion when you talk about these things, right? And that's phenomenal. When it comes to having something worthwhile, there's gonna be some challenges along the way. So like, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the early stages of building out this company, and how did you overcome it?
Wow. Well, I tell you, if you kind of think of an analogy, crawl, walk, run,
Mm-hmm.
okay, when you're founding, you just start right at the run. Okay. Now it
Yeah.
may be a treadmill and you're not necessarily going forward, but you're running, right? So I say that kind of tongue in cheek. I think that the if I look back, the evolution kind of is really one, identifying a place to be relevant and add value. And in our case, it was one of the common conversations, one of the common, let's just say, endpoints. So we might have gone into, I can remember some conversations. We go in, this particular agency was looking for a new radio communication system. Another agency might be looking at, a building move. Another agency might be looking at, how to better manage case investigations, right, with the right security. Invariably, the outro would be, oh, by the way, our records are a mess, almost as a throwaway. So it's funny. It's sometimes the part that the market, speaks quietly about, that quiet part really becomes the part when you really say, well, wait a minute, from leadership perspective, operational, administrative, and all these different roles are coming to a same endpoint. So for us, it really meant if we flip our mindset and come in and out to the market starting there, hey, we make your records more valuable, less risky, right? More secure, more compliant. And so
Well,
the evolution, I think, is number one, you identify something unique that you have a passion for and you can really add value. And if those
Mm-hmm.
pieces are there, really, I found you'll figure it out. And
Right.
part of figuring out is that, hey, we need to add somebody. Just because we started the company in a way doesn't mean we know how to get it from here to here to here. So I think one of the things, and I learned this really from my dad, try to kind of work your way out of a role where you're not dependent. If we get hit the lottery, the entity can live on. Why? Because it's good. We
Mm-hmm.
empower people to think and work in new ways. That's our why. Doesn't have a shelf life, right?
That's
love
awesome.
that. Yeah,
So
that's great.
that's focus.
Awesome. And I know we kind of hinted at it with our previous question, but Intellinetics is undergoing a strategic repositioning. If you can, Matt, can you walk us through what that means, why now? What that means and why
Yeah,
now?
yeah. So what's interesting is I would respond to that this way. It's almost more about doubling down on who we are and doing the right things to scale. And so what do those levers look like? They look like the partnership with Constellation, right? We're a digital transformation company. You're the leading global leader in home building everything, right? Together we can 1 and 1 is 3 because we're sticking to our DNA. We're sticking on the Intellinetics side, and we're plugging in and amplifying. In this case, or let's say in the context of Newstar, it's all about Newstar. We message, position, build the integration. It's all about extending the power of
Mm-hmm.
Newstar so that they get even more value out of it. And we're parlaying that into the next generation. But the idea, back to kind of your question more globally, um, we're sticking to that, making digital, well, now it's really more digital chaos, but let's say documents, kind of as we think of them, kind of conceptually, we still are about making documents more process ready, more secure, more compliant, etc. Only now it's an AI forward lens, right? It's
Right.
a integration partner lens where we're taking our piece and amplifying Newstar. And so it's a bit of a dichotomy in one sense. We think about when our go-to-market strategy is really about partner driven customer acquisition. So if you think about that, Constellation really is the focus here to really enable Constellation to in the bigger picture, so that together we create a user experience that is not available any other path. It's Constellation or settle, right?
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, you touched on a lot of good points there, Matt. As far as document management within, the construction industry, you touched on a lot of these things already, but what makes document management in construction and in healthcare uniquely challenging? Like, how is Intellinetics addressing that?
Yeah. So, growing up initially selling into law enforcement, we didn't, it was, I'd like to say, we thought it all out. The reality is, it, on a look back, it was a fantastic place to start. Why? Because, well, number one, the culture in law enforcement is 24/7, right? This idea
Right.
pays off and all. So it's a very mission critical mindset. And whatever tool that they're going to consider to implement, it has to be industrial strength, 24/7, right? Incredibly fault tolerant, incredibly secure. You add all of those things up, really, that's just the ante now for really any market.
Right.
And when we think about the user profile, typically, again, they're kind of mission oriented, not necessarily as technology focused, although that has evolved, right? Simply as a matter of time. But I've, kind of relating it back to home builders, one thing that felt really familiar on the human side, on the user experience side, was some similarities. So there's tremendous document volumes, there's tremendous law and policy governing the proper care and feeding of those documents. Think about things like
Yep.
warranties, right? And safety. So there's a risk management aspect, there's a compliance aspect. Some of our mutual customers are very large publicly traded companies. So you
Hmm.
have even additional, kind of requirements. So in short, you know, we were already ready to address those challenges and come at it with that mindset. So
Yeah.
for us moving into home building, I tell you what's been probably one of the most enjoyable parts about that journey is meeting the builders and the personalities behind these logos, which are right, Marco. You just saw that at the awards ceremony. Amazing people,
Yeah.
their why is, seen on the smile of a new homeowner, right? And we
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So I like the energy.
It's an amazing industry, honestly. And at those awards, at our home awards in Calgary, there was a lot of passion there and a lot of just feelings and competition in that room. And it was very personal. Everyone knows each other, but everyone pushes each other, is the
Yeah.
way to say it. There's no bad competition. It's good competition. And everyone's kind of helping each other out. There's no keeping secrets with our customers. They're all sharing and collaborating and finding new ways to kind of improve the industry and find better ways to deliver more and better homes to homeowners. We're always getting feedback from those builders. They're always telling us, hey, it's not just builder to builder. They're always communicating with us. Hey, we'd like our system to do this. Is there any way we can have this added to your roadmap? And there's so many times where we're like, that's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely incorporate that into our, development sprints. What feedback do you ever receive, Matt, from at Intellinetics that shaped
Well,
your?
I tell you,
All the time.
it's a very timely question. So we just had our user group meeting last week, and the timing was not, casual. We wanted kind of a warm up to Carlsbad and Build Smarter because a lot of them will be on site. And it was
Nice.
was like you said, just fascinating to really see the groupthink in the pure. Competitive is the wrong word. A desire to share, and a kind of pushing the boundaries of market performance and professionalism and business value. It's all of that. But you mentioned kind of those amazing ideas. We had one idea come from a current customer, Canadian builder, amazing, that for 2026 is actually going to open up a new module for our mutual product in expense management. That's a new category.
Nice.
That's a new category. So, and what's fascinating is back to the uniqueness of home building and finance and accounting in home building. You know, it's it is unique to the industry. So what we were kind of expense management in general is certainly a presumed feature, if you will, in the open market. But again, our strategy is to really build UX specific to home building a new star. So my point is the stars align. We've got a great model, and that's just a little, kind of teaser into we'll have expense management added to our combined solution for the user base. And again, what does that mean? It means more money in their pocket, right? It
Right.
means a hedge against, these deeper discounts that have become normal. It's a hedge against not just, a new source of cash through efficiencies. It's when the market swings, right? It always is a cycle, right? So in an upcycle, I could tell you this, anybody that has the AP automation solution that together we've built, um, they're going to scale. They don't have to add resources and time and headcount. And
Yeah.
to give you kind of a fun fact, one of our mutual customers implemented our solution, our joint solution, and they are processing 15,000 just lot-based invoices a month, which the
Oh,
bulk of
wow.
that are utility, but not all. So think tax, HOA, et cetera. But that's a number. Think about it, 15,000 a month. Because of our solution, we've been able to 86% of those invoices now are no touch. They come in, they go through, we use AI, we have a policy management engine. We curate the data coming from Newstar. We know how to allocate it. We know how to expense it. We check if the homeowner now is accountable. Can you imagine how many times, they just, you don't know. So,
Hmm.
and then also late fees are a thing of the past. So think about, you add all of that up, 86% of 15,000 just go into Newstar. And so what does that really mean? Again, that's a source of, if you do the math, that's a new source of cash. And
Right.
again, so that's hedging on just business performance. And that's why, again, together we do the things we do.
Hmm.
So, uh, you know, it's, we're kind of in a life cycle together where we have really enough of a look back to really go to that next home builder, new star home builder that hasn't heard about this or really hasn't been the right time for whatever reason, and just give them a peek into their future. How would
Yeah.
you like to save X to Y per invoice processed on average? It's getting easier. I could
That's
tell you that.
amazing. Yeah. And Matt, expanding on some of the things that you've already sort of mentioned, and as CTO, right, how do you go about, what emerging technologies or, within the market are you keeping an eye on that could impact, some of the new functionality that you might implement within document intelligence?
Yeah, so really, our future is really a convergence of all the things we've done, all the expertise on the software and solution side. They're all really converging under that digital transformation umbrella into really kind of two sides of one coin. So we're building our next generation platform that has all the things that we do in it in a new way, and things like containerization, things like kind of context based, all of the disciplines that we're all working towards. But on the other side of that initiative, Intellinetics now brings to its partners equal parts off the shelf solution. We need an AP console plugin to NX,
Hmm.
great, which by the way we're working on.
Awesome.
All right, we need a content management component to this particular platform. Got it. But what we've done is we're modularizing all the things below the waterline, things like AI-based capture, workflow automation, governance, de-identification, right, dashboarding, etc. So it's in the future we can kind of plug in an endpoint solution, or our partner could say, you know what, we have this issue over here that relates to, here's kind of a focus area, what we're calling capture as a service. So let's say we're not in either endpoint. We're not in the source. Let's say there's inbound streams of faxes, email, system, different systems. There's different external feeders for documents or data. Imagine a black box that can curate that, read it, confirm document type, extract whatever's needed, just like we're doing for those lot-based invoices, resolve it up against the relevant external contextual information, and then put it right back into another back-end system where our partner doesn't have to put all of that together. all of us kind of have to pick and choose what we're good at and really stick and scale.
Mhm.
So the future for us is really being able to be much more relevant to a much broader set of partners that may not need, let's just say, a plugin for AP, but they need a governance module, production, high volume intake, and intelligent document capture. Well, we could stack those three blocks, wrap that up into a program. And now in that way, we're helping even more people think and work
Right.
in new ways.
That's awesome. Yeah, really appreciate the insights on that, Matt. And you know, life's all about lessons. Looking back, what's one lesson that you say you've learned that you wish you knew when you started this process?
Oh, man, here's what I would say. Here's one of them for sure. I was raised Catholic. So what you do, you just like admit stuff and then you say a few things and you're
Yeah.
ready to go out and make more mistakes. I would say just because you like to do something doesn't mean you should stay with it.
Hmm.
I would be much more disciplined in, let's say, stepping out of technical tasks, stepping out of implementation tasks, stepping out of, because you can't work in a company and then look up and out very easily. I think for any of us, those are two different mindsets. And so that would probably be the overarching guidance I'd give the younger me. Um, which really, what does that boil down to? In a way, reaching out for help sooner in terms of workload or trying to boil the ocean. Um, and really, if you get people that have the same values you can trust, um, that's a sign of success, right? That'll help you scale and continue to work, up and out and on the business instead of being kind of locked up in day to day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Having said that, what I really enjoy now, in one way or another, I've done, pretty much every role in one way or another. So back to my engineering background, I feel, really in my role today, it's continuing to stack the blocks in ways that are more relevant and valuable to the market with the strict adherence, you say this tongue in cheek, but without making stuff up, right? We're a DTS
Yeah.
company and we've got experience and subject matter expertise. And as long as we don't try to be an organization we're not, we're going to be fine. Blue
That's
skies ahead.
awesome. Yeah. And I feel I feel like that's one common thing for, presidents, CEOs. They're always looking up and ahead. And if you're kind of in that worker role, you can't really have that idea and get that creativity. But Matt, for Intellinetics and the document intelligence space, where do you see that heading in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I tell you, AI has really changed what it means, I think, in a way
Yeah.
for strategic planning. And I'll give you an example. In our technology roadmap, like you mentioned, we have, 3, 5 year, then you have kind of a 1 year view, 6 months, 12, right? 24, 36. Um, Innovation cycles are so accelerated that we really kind of look at, phases. So right now we're unifying, the next 12 months, maybe 24, but let's say the near medium term is consolidating our IP and modernizing based on some of the, that consolidation and modularization that I talked about. And then that opens the door, okay, for additional collaborations in different categories. So I think we will talking about kind of sticking to a model to scale. We've packaged if you can imagine the partnership between Constellation and Intellinetics as a recipe. Together,
Right.
together we've created something that's worthy and has a shelf life in terms of the recipe, right? The details come and go. So these things that are timeless, those are the units of things that we can use to scale while adopting to the reality of changes within, let's say the technology level, which is now, again, uh, uh, the cycles for innovation on the tool side of things is very fast. So in short, for intelligent document capture, intelligent data capture, process automation, and digital transformation, I think there's only going to be more of it. And I think the level of predictive analysis, behavioral analysis, what we call context based or headless design. It sounds kind of maybe bad, but the idea is the system really understands so much more about who you are and your role in the organization by both how you look and then of course things that have to occur. But it's almost like as an individual knowledge worker, there's no level that doesn't get to look up and out now. Instead of really being drowned, you know what I mean? Taking a sip and trying to not, not drop plates. If you think about that concept. So the
Yeah.
ability for every worker to have the benefit of the macro view. And think about the contributions at every level. What does that really mean? Think about the impact just on the quality of work, the ability to affect change, and really just stress, right? Your daily and we do that now together in the context of payables automation.
That's great. Matt, first off, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this with us. Before we let you go to your busy day, we have this favorite segment that our audience loves. It's called our 30-second quick fire questions, which I think you'll do really well in.
All
Just
right.
having met you for many years now. So we're just gonna shoot a quick questions at you. Whatever comes first thought, just say it.
Oh boy.
And it should
We
be
all
great.
find the waiver. We should be good.
Yeah, well, we might have to take a couple takes here, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
Believe.
So first question, Matt. If you hadn't gone into tech, what would you be doing today?
I really like music. There's an alternate universe where, I continued taking studies beyond, beyond K-12.
Awesome.
Awesome. And what's one app or tool you can't live without?
Right now it's Grok.
You're using Grok.
And specifically in conversation mode. And it's a bit odd. I don't know if you've taken that kind of leap talking to your device like it's a person. It is odd, but very quickly it becomes not odd and it kind of part of dial tone, which is really, again, kind of amazing. But if you could imagine, and it doesn't matter, there's many tools, but kind of the AI, conversational AI, that really could care less about context or details. It's just, what's on your mind and what's of interest. I've got a relevant, like, just quality of life example improvement. Not long ago, we convened on to Calgary, my first trip to Calgary. I don't know if it's 2 months ago, but awesome, right? We went to the round. Of course, we were, doing the tourist thing, but we had dinner and we saw the views and learned about the big party that I'm going to make sure there's a project meeting that we go to. I tell you that because one of the things having never been there, and sometimes I'll admit I don't plan as far ahead as I should. I wanted to answer a simple question. Do I rent a car or do I take Uber? No big deal. But then I thought, I'd like to have a detailed report and know why. So I asked, hey, do an analysis. Uber, I gave the addresses, endpoints.
Yeah.
Here's my schedule, my flights, do this. It was fascinating. The level of detail. Fun fact, Calgary, the parking fees in Calgary are some of the highest in the world.
Interesting. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that. At one time, it was New York, San Francisco, Calgary.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
crazy.
I digress. But that
No, it's
really is just conversational AI. And if you haven't taken that step, just do so. Ask it a question of interest. You won't believe it.
it's crazy. And it's actually interesting you said that because the traveling salesman is one of the most difficult problems for AI to solve. So you really put Gronk through the ringer there.
It was interesting. And what's interesting is you can kind of click through and it'll give you all the sources. And yes, they go so far as to, know the valet charges, where you're staying, construction. I could go on and on. Here's just if you have any interest, Uber won by a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So I guess, as a daily user of AI, question, Matt, scary or exciting?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
I think that's what most
what's
people
one
would
word
say.
that best describes the team at Intellinetics, Matt?
Genuine.
That's awesome. That's it. That's a good one. Marco, we're going to have to utilize that amongst us. Last one here. What's one skill you think is underrated in today's work environment?
Is it spiky hair?
That's just jealous. I'm a hater. You both have beautiful hair. So I'm really conflicted here. I would say just, conversational comfort with real people, just being, and I say that from a couple angles. One, just being comfortable asking for help. Don't feel like you need to know more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And really, there's a bit of, I don't know, maybe this is just aging and being, kind of an older, out of step person, but I'll tell you this, it seems there's a bit of a lost art building connections with people. And neither of you have, you're great examples of, kind of what to strive for, truly. I think though some of the
Appreciate that.
younger folks have let technology get in the way of making connections in a way that isn't possible, right? Through text or some sort of,
Yeah.
so that is, so when we see that, especially, with some of the new team members, right? We've hired some amazing our staff is growing. But it's really a bit, it's a superpower to the younger people today
Mm-hmm.
because they've got AI. And in other words, it's the up and out, right? That's what's left. And that's you, right? That brand is you. There's no one can be Marco or Bryan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I
Well
mean?
said.
So these other things, and ultimately that's why people are attracted to you guys, and you're doing the things you're doing. And that's why, Constellation's culture is what it is. And I'm gonna brag on us. Same.
That's awesome.
That's great. That's great. That was a great way to end it too.
Yeah.
I liked your quick fire questions, and I'm really glad you covered a lot in AI there. So that was awesome because it's something that isn't in every conversation we have throughout the day.
I'll tell you this. So we, about 3 months ago, gosh, it seems longer, but it's only been about 3 months. We hired um, a AI practice manager, and his name is Dave Tackett. And we had been looking for a long time for somebody that could come in and be an anchor point for all things AI. And
Mm-hmm.
what was happening in Intellinetics was there were fits and starts everywhere. I mean, kind of three buckets really. Code assist, so thinking development, sales and marketing automation, that's huge, right? And then pretty much back office stuff, in NetSuite or, the ERP side. And we were really starting to get too many, there needed to be ownership and continuity and a systemic way to evaluate any moves in AI and make sure that they're connected, not at odds. And then we have economies of knowledge and learning that are available, right? So it's been transformational just in that time frame. And so, AI, just back to your point, it resonates with me. If AI isn't a part of a conversation in today's world, it's going to be an exception versus expected. I mean, and it happened, what, a year, 12 months?
Yeah, if someone was in a coma 2 years ago and they woke up today, they'd have no idea what we were talking about,
No,
Yeah.
or very small idea that is.
I know.
It's crazy.
What's interesting is like the innovation cycles. I mean, you can have what seems like an insurmountable development issue. And if you have the right skills and they're in demand, and it's still bleeding edge. I mean, you know what I mean? It's still the Wild West, I think. But you can do things that are incomprehensible in a short period of time. It
Yeah.
doesn't even fit. So
Yeah.
that'll be it's part of our themes next year too, just what we're doing there. But
A little sneak peek. Yeah. No, absolutely, Matt. So, Matt, I get the pleasure to meet with you a few times throughout the year, and obviously we have our calls periodically. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for taking time out of your day to do this with us. I'm sure our audience is going to learn a lot from what you've kind of encapsulated here in this, interview with us, call it. So we'll wrap up here, Matt, and look
awesome.
forward to seeing you at the Build Smarter conference coming up here at Constellation. Yeah,
Hey,
Yeah,
listen,
Matt,
my pleasure. I felt like I didn't know if I needed to put my tux on or put a tie on. I knew I'd be seeing you guys.
No, no.
One other point on the wardrobe, I was conflicted. Do I go with my Intellinetics shirt or my 7 Constellation?
yeah.
The best swag
No,
in
that
the
was
world.
perfect.
No one beats Constellation. I love this stuff.
That was perfect. That was
All right,
perfect.
guys.
It
Yeah.
worked. We'll
Hey,
see you
thank
at
Thanks,
you
the
so
Matt.
much.
conference,
You
Matt.
rock.
See ya.
See ya.
Likewise.
That was a great conversation we had there with Matt, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, Matt has always been the type of person where, you could talk about anything really, and he just, exudes passion in anything that he talks about. So I learned a lot from him, how the product came to be. I didn't even realize, obviously this is of huge help for the industry that we're in, home building that is, but I didn't even realize that his product kind of serves other markets as well. So, like I said, it's always a pleasure catching up with Matt.
Yeah, and all those tips and tricks with AI and how it's shaping his business, I'm sure will resonate with a lot of our viewers. And on that note, we just wanted to thank you all for joining us again here on the Power to Build show. This podcast is all about driving conversation about home building and innovation. So let's make sure it doesn't stop here.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more episodes because we have a lot more planned at the Power to Build show.
Thanks, everyone. See you on our next episode.
Bye, everyone.